Okay, just sitting watching telly, and I was aware that the kit noise, i.e. the heater and the fan, seemed to be going continuously. Now I've unplugged it now, but this temperature here is the set temperature. That's the temperature that the heater should get up to before it shuts off. That's the temperature in here, and if I plug that back in, the heater comes on. Whereas that's the shut off temperature. So the unit's not playing up, the unit's gone. It's functioning like in reverse. So basically it's switching the heater on when it's not needed, and I mean, if I'd gone to bed, this would have just stayed on all night, and we'd have had the opposite of this morning. Instead of having ridiculously cold temperatures, it would have just got hotter and hotter in here. So the unit's actually messed up. Now that's not good, because I bought these units at the beginning of this last year. So this is less than a year old, and it's now messed up. So the problem we had this morning with everything shutting down was to do with the unit going wrong, nothing else. Well, that's the only way I can see. Now, sorry, I'm just trying to unplug that with one hand, which is not working very well. There we go. So I have another one of these that's completely shut down at the moment because it works the extractor fan, which I don't need until probably 2 or 3 months. But I'm going to have to switch the units over, which is a big deal because the wires are all in behind the plants and everything like that. That's not a nighttime thing, that's a daytime thing. So I'll have to try and do that tomorrow. But yeah, it's basically saying that because that's the temperature I want, it's gone over from heating to cooling, and yet the heater comes on. So the heating socket is activated when it shouldn't be. So the unit's just gone wrong, basically. I haven't had that too long. I mean, okay, these units aren't expensive, but the fact that the heater in the winter is critical. All the other stuff is not critical, but that is. I think I might have to invest in something a bit more, well, just something that might be a bit better, perhaps. I mean, these weren't expensive units, but what I'm going to have to do now, because that's not functioning properly, I'm not going to do anything tonight. All I'm going to do tonight is actually leave the door open so that hopefully there's enough residual temperature from the house to stop this getting too cold overnight. It may not succeed. It may actually drop down lower than I want it, but I don't believe it's going to drop down anywhere near as low as it did last night with the heater not even on. And I'll have to sort it out tomorrow. I can't be doing with it tonight. It's nearly bedtime. But I was just aware that the heater was just permanently on. And I mean, as you can see, my cut-off temperature. What I did was I changed the settings on here for today. So I took it up to 18 degrees, but I changed it to ½ a degree differential. And I switched the heater down to 2 kilowatts instead of 3. So basically, when the heater was called for, it was only trying to heat up ½ a degree instead of a whole degree, and it was doing it with 2 kilowatts instead of 3 kilowatts. That way the plug stayed cold, nothing was overheating, everything was running fine, until now, when basically the unit just seems to have failed, and all it's doing is calling for the heater when it's not necessary. So it's just not working. Okay, it's just untrustworthy. So the best thing to do is not have it on at all. And I can't mess with it tonight. As I say, I was borderline going to bed. So I'm just going to have to leave it, and I'll have to leave the door open. And I mean, the house is up to a high temperature anyway. And overnight, we're in for a cold night tonight. It's possibility of snow tomorrow in the south of England, which is unheard of. So it's going to be cold tonight. But I believe with the door open to the house, the temperature just cannot drop down that low. It can't. I mean, the thought of the house getting down to less than 10 degrees is just ridiculous. Even on the coldest nights, you know, the house has only ever dropped down to sort of like 17, 18 degrees. And with the door open, obviously the lounge will get pretty cold overnight, but it's not going to drop down that much. That's about the best I can do. So the unit has actually failed. So this morning's episode was a mask. So whereas I was thinking the wiring was wrong or something like that, it was basically the unit had gone wrong. And it seems to be working in reverse. So this morning when I needed heat, because the temperature was dropping down below the set temperature, it was shutting down. Whereas now, the temperature's gone above the desired temperature and it won't shut off. So it's like it's working in reverse. Anyway, I'm just going to shut it down for tonight, just leave it unplugged, and I'll try and sort something out tomorrow. Oh, it's all good fun, isn't it? As I say, it would happen on the blinking coldest period of the year so far, but so be it. It's not going to be dramatic. At the end of the day, it's going to be for a relatively short time. As I said, the heating in the house, the lounge temperature at the moment is 22 degrees. You know, I mean, that heat is going to drift in here all night long. What I may do is set my alarm to just get up early, just get up at sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock and just check what's going on, just to cut the story short. Losing a bit of sleep is not a big deal for me, it really isn't. I don't need a lot, I'm getting on a bit. So we'll see how we go. So I'll post this, whatever the time is now, coming up to 9 o'clock, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow in Sunday chat, where I'll have switched the units round, because that's the only thing I can think of doing at the moment. The other unit doesn't get used anywhere near as much. You know, I mean, this unit here has been on and off all through the winter doing its job, whereas the other one is wired up to the extractor and the inlet fan. So, you know, I mean, that didn't get used a whole lot. So I'll just switch them over, I think, for now, so that I've got something that at least works. And we'll go from there. It's all good fun, isn't it? It's me worried about wiring and all sorts of stuff like that, when in fact it was the unit failing. As I say, that's the true temperature in here at the moment. You know, that's the daytime temperature, that is. But that's what the heater's been doing over the last period, because I hadn't, you know, I've only just noticed it was staying on, and that's the temperature it should have shut down at. That's my maximum temperature, the idea being that when it drops down below that, the heater brings it up to this temperature, and it just keeps going. It just keeps getting higher and higher. So the unit's just messed up, it's just not working. So what I might try is a complete reset. You know, actually turn the unit off, power it down basically, and then when it comes up I'll have to make all the settings again and see if it sort of resets itself. There must be some sort of reset mechanism, and then see if it actually functions correctly. But at the moment I'm just going to shut everything, you know, leave everything unplugged, and do without the heater tonight, and leave the door open, which means when I come down in the morning the lounge will be very cold, but the central heating will fire up and, you know, sort that out relatively quickly. And we'll pick it up again tomorrow. We rely on these flipping gadgets, but you know, it seems to me that you can spend £5 on a gadget or 500 quid on a gadget and they can still fail. Anyway, we will see how we go.